Hi, my dear students. We are going to the chapter-wise concept. The chapter is trigonometry. The topic is periodicity and extreme values and graphs. Now we are going to the concept of period. Already yesterday, began the concept of period and some periodic functions already derived. Now we are going to one more, that is, let f of x is equal to sin square x plus cos square x. Actually, this is the identity from trigonometric ratios. Now for this we have to identify the period for this function. Actually, the definition of the period is f of x plus p is equal to f of x, where p is least positive real number, where p is least positive real number. That's all. Where p is the least positive real number. That means for f of x plus p is equal to f of x, there p is the least positive real number. According to this definition, we have to identify that period for this trigonometric ratios identity. So period for this identity. So take that function f of x is equal to sin square x plus cos square x. Now, in place of x, we have to substitute x plus p. In place of p, we have to substitute. Now, in place of p, we have to take pi by 2 pi and 2 pi like this. So, for that, again it gives sin square x plus cos square x. Then p is the least positive real number, that is a period. For this one, we have to substitute f of x plus pi by 2. That is sin square x plus pi by 2 plus cos square x plus pi by 2. So, observe here, actually sin 90 plus theta is cos theta. That's why square is there. So, it is cos square x. And cos 90 plus theta is minus sin theta, but square is there. That's why it is positive. So, it is a sin square x. So, it gives same function will be there. That's why f of x plus pi by 2 is equal to f of x, where p is equal to p. P is equal to pi by 2 is the period. Is period of f of x. So, period of f of x. So, for this one, in place of pi by 2, we have to substitute pi. Then it gives sin square x plus cos square x. Substitute 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, like that. For all functions, so that means for pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, but least among them is pi by 2. That's why pi by 2 is the period. Since pi by 2 and pi, 3 pi by 2, 2 pi and 5 pi by 2, 4 pi, like this all satisfy this identity. Such that f of x plus p is equal to f of x, but least among them is pi by 2 is the period of this function. Okay, now we are going to another model. That means another example for this one. For f of x is equal to 2 sin square x plus 3 cos square x. Now we have to define the period for this function. So suppose we have to take in place of p pi by 2. Then f of x plus pi by 2 is equal to 2 sin square x plus pi by 2 plus 3 cos square x plus pi by 2. So, from this, sin 90 plus theta cos, that's why it is 2 cos square x plus here 3 sin square x. That's all. So, the function will be changed. This is not equal to f of x. That's why pi by 2 not satisfied this such that f of x plus p is equal to f of x. So since the definition of the period is f of x plus p is equal to f of x, for p is the least, where p is the least real number, so it is a period of that function. That's why where p is the least positive real number, p is least positive real number, okay. So like this is not satisfied. For x is in place of p we have to substitute pi. then f of x plus pi is equal to 2 sine square x plus pi plus 3 cos square x plus pi. Now for this sine 180 plus theta is sine theta. That's why it is 2 sine square x plus 3 cos square x. That's why it is f of x. So it's satisfied. F of x plus pi is equal to f of x where p is the period p. So p is equal to pi. So for this function 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi, 6 pi, 7 pi, these are all satisfied this function such that f of x plus p is equal to f of x, but p is equal to pi is the least among them. Pi is the least among them, that's why pi is the period of this function. That means 2 cos square x or 2 sin square x plus 3 cos square. So what we observe from this one and previous one. So if the coefficient of x, coefficient of sin square x and the coefficient of cos square x equal, then period is pi by 2. If coefficient of sin square x and the coefficient of cos square x are different, then period of the function is pi. Okay, now we have to write the note point for this concept. For the function f of x is equal to a sin square x plus b cos square x, the first one, if a is equal to b, then if a is equal to b, then period of f of x is pi by 2. Second one, if a not equal to b, then period of f of x is pi. That's all. So observe here, for a sin square x plus b cos square x, if a is equal to b, then the period is pi by 2, and a not equal to b, then the period is pi. So previous two questions are the examples for this concept. Okay, now we are going to one more concept for a period. Okay. For f of x is equal to a sin cube x plus b cos cube x. So here power odd. For power odd, if power odd, for sine function, cos function, secant function, cosecant function, period is 2 pi. That's why here a is equal to b or a not equal to b. The function for this one is 2 pi. Function for this one is 2 pi. That's why for if a is equal to b or a not equal to b, then the period of f of x is 2 pi, since power is odd. For power even, then the period is pi for sine, cos, cosecant, secant. If power is odd, for sine, cos, secant, cosecant, the period is 2 pi. Power is even, the period is pi. If power is odd, the period is 2 pi. That's why here a is equal to b or a not equal to b, the period of the function is 2 pi, since it is a cubic function. Right? Now we are going to note points for this. Now we are going to the note point. Let f of x is equal to a sin power nx plus b cos power nx for n is even. For n is even, first one, if a is equal to b, then the period of the function f of x is pi by 2. If a not equal to b, then the period of the function f of x is equal to pi. For n is odd, if a is equal to b or a not equal to b, then the period of f of x is 2 pi. That's why the function which is not depends upon the coefficient of a sin square x and coefficient of cos square x. That's why independent of a and b. So these are the inward points. So from these points you have to do the questions, okay, objective questions. Another note points, let f of x is equal to a secant for nx plus b cosecant for nx for n is even. For n is even, the first one, if a is equal to b, then the period of f of x is pi by 2, and if a not equal to b, then the period of f of x is pi. For n is odd, if a is equal to b or a not equal to b, then the period of f of x is 2 pi. So same as to sin square x plus, that means a sin for nx plus b cos for nx period, like a secant for nx plus b cosecant for nx, also same properties are there. Now we are going to the concept of another function in terms of tan and cot. For f of x is equal to tan square x plus cot square x, we have to identify the period. According to the definition of the period, actually definition of the period is f of x plus p is equal to f of x for least positive real number. For least positive real number of p. For least positive real number p. So this is the definition of the period of the function, okay, real p, real number p. So this is the, according to this definition we have to identify this. Suppose we have to write in place of p pi by 2, then f of x plus pi by 2 is nothing but tan square x plus pi by 2 plus cot square x plus pi by 2. Tan square x plus pi by 2 plus tan square x plus pi by 2 plus cot square x plus pi by 2. Now it gives cot square x, it gives tan square x. That's why the same function will be there. That's why f of x plus pi by 2 is equal to f of x. F of x plus pi by 2 is equal to f of x. This will comparing with x, f of x plus p is equal to f of x. That's why p is equal to pi by 2 is the period. Is the period of the function. Is the period of f of x. Since, so for this one, for pi is the pi satisfy this function. Since in place of pi by 2 we have to write, for this one pi satisfy this function, and 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, 6 pi, 7 pi, 8 pi, 9 pi, and including pi by 2. That's why least among them is pi by 2. That's why pi by 2 is the period for this function. Suppose we have to take f of x is equal to, for f of x is equal to 4 tan square x plus 5 cot square x. Now pi by 2 not satisfied. Suppose we have to substitute in place of p pi by 2. For f of x is equal to 4 tan square x plus 5 cot square x. So in place of x we have to write x plus pi by 2. That means in place of p. So for pi by 2, it tan square pi by 2, tan square pi by 2 plus x is cot square x, and cot square pi by 2 plus x is tan square x. That's why the function will be changed. That's why f of x plus pi by 2 not equal to f of x. That's why pi by 2 is not period for this one, where the coefficient of tan square x and coefficient of cot square x are different. The period of the function is pi, since f of x plus pi is equal to 4 tan square x plus 5 cot square x. Since tan square pi plus x is tan square x and cot square pi plus x is cot square x. That's why same function will be there. That's why if a not equal to b, period is pi. If a is equal to b, period is, that means they have same x, cot square x coefficient and tan square x coefficient. Period is pi by 2, and different coefficients period is pi. So for this one, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi, 6 pi, 7 pi, 8 pi, 9 pi, these are all satisfy this function such that f of x plus p is equal to f of x, where p is the least positive real number. Okay, like that. So here the least among them is pi is the period of this function. Okay, now we are going to note point. Now the note point for this question, let f of x is equal to a tan power nx plus b cot power nx for n is even. If a is equal to b, then the period of f of x is pi by 2. If a not equal to b, then the period is pi. For n is odd, if a is equal to b or a not equal to b, then the period of f of x is pi. So for that purpose, tan power nx, a tan power nx plus b cot power nx period like this. Okay. Now we have to do the questions on this concept. You can do the questions, you can create the questions from this concept. So where a and b are real numbers and n is the positive, that means n is integer, n is a positive natural number. Okay, n is natural number. For f of x is equal to mod sin x, mod cos x, mod tan x, mod cot x, mod secant x, mod cosecant x, modulus of trigonometric functions. Its period is pi such that f of x plus p is equal to f of x. That means pi satisfy these functions 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi, 6 pi, but the least among them is pi. Since suppose you have to take f of x is equal to sin x, then f of x plus pi, that is sin x plus pi, mod sin x here, mod sin x plus pi. Actually x plus pi means 180 plus theta, sin 180 plus theta minus sin x, but mod is there. If it is mod, this is a positive, that's why same function will be there. That's why it gives f of x again. That's why f of x plus pi is equal to f of x, where p is equal to pi is the period. So pi is the period of this function. So for these functions, what are them? Mod sin x, mod cos x, mod secant x, mod cosecant x, mod cot x, mod tan x, and pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, 5 pi, 6 pi, 7 pi. These are all satisfy these functions such that f of x is equal to f of x plus p is equal to f of x. But the least among them is the pi. So pi is the period. Okay, pi is the period for this function. Now we are going to addition of these functions. So that means mod sin x plus mod cos x, mod tan x plus mod cot x, mod secant x plus mod cosecant x. So we have to define the period for those functions. Okay. For f of x is equal to mod sin x plus mod cos x. So we have to verify the period for this function. That is f of x plus pi by 2, that is mod sin x plus pi by 2 plus mod cos x plus pi by 2. That's all. Now here it is sin 90 plus theta, that is cos theta, that's why it is mod cos x, plus here it is sin 90 plus theta is minus cos 90 plus theta is minus sin, but it is mod, that's why it is sin x. So same function will be there, that is f of x. So f of x plus pi by 2 is equal to f of x, where p is equal to pi by 2 is the period of this function, right? That's why, so for f of x is equal to mod sin x plus mod cos x, the period is pi by 2. Of course, pi, 2 pi, 3 pi, 4 pi, and 3 pi by 2, 4 pi, 5 pi by 2, 7 pi by 2. These are all satisfy this one such that f of x plus p is equal to f of x. But least among them is the period, that one is pi by 2. That's why pi by 2 is the period for this function. Suppose we have to take for f of x is equal to 3 cos x, 3 mod sin x, 3 mod sin x plus 6 mod cos x, 3 mod sin x plus 6 mod cos x. Now suppose you have to substitute in place of pi by 2, then 3 sin 90 plus theta, that is cos, and 3 cos 90 plus theta, that is sin. That's why function will be changed. That's why for f of x is equal to 3 mod sin x plus 6 mod cos x, then substitute in place of pi by 2, then f of x plus pi by 2 is nothing but 3 mod cos x plus 6 mod sin x. Since sign will be changes from x plus 90 it is cos, and the cos will changes to sine since it is mod, that's why 3 mod cos x plus 6 mod sin x, so that's why the function will be changed. This is not f of x such that f of x plus p is equal to f of x. That's why this is not period. Pi by 2 is not period for this function. When the coefficient of mod sin x is different from coefficient of mod cos x, then period is pi by 2 is not satisfied. That's why if f of x plus pi, so pi satisfy this function since sin pi plus theta, actually minus sign but mod is there. Here cos pi plus theta minus cos but it is mod there. That's why f of x plus pi is equal to f of x. Same function will be there. That's why the period is pi. Okay, period is pi. So what you observe, the coefficient of mod sin x and coefficient of mod cos x equal, then the period is pi by 2. And the coefficient of mod sin x and coefficient of mod cos x are different, then the period is pi. Now we are going to write the note point on this concept, and you can practice more questions from this concept. You can create the questions. Okay, I will give the note point on this. Now we are going to the note point on this concept. Let f of x is equal to a mod sin x plus b mod cos x. If a is equal to b, then the period of f of x is pi by 2. If a not equal to b, then the period of f of x is pi. Okay, you can create the questions depends upon this concept, and you can solve the questions depends upon this concept. Now I will give the practicing questions. You can try to practice the questions. You can practice these questions. So practicing questions. So the first question, period of 5 plus 6 sin cube x. That's why here it is a power odd. If power is odd, then the period is 2 pi. And the period of 3 minus 4 tan square x. So here the power is even. That's why the period is pi. Now that means for tan it may be power is even or odd, then period is pi. Now period of 7 sin cube x plus 9 cos cube x. So its power is odd, that's why period is 2 pi. And period of 8 mod cos x plus 9 mod sin x, then the period is 2 pi. So answer is 2 pi. And period of 6 sin square x plus 13 cos square x, so period is pi since power is even. So you can practice these questions according to the definition of the period. What is the definition of the period? F of x plus p is equal to f of x, where p is the least positive real number. So you can prove these according to the periodic definition. According to the periodic definition, according to f of x plus p, f of x, you can prove these. Okay. So you can practice all the questions, and you can by heart all the forms. Okay.